And we are on the Tech Talk segment of the show. Now, today on the show, we're exploring the intersection of technology, policy, and economic growth. Our focus today is on shaping policies to fast-track Nigeria's digital transformation. And as well as you know, technology is advancing rapidly across the globe. But for countries like Nigeria, policy frameworks, government initiatives, and strategic partnerships are crucial to harnessing its full potentials. Now, joining me on the show today to discuss this is Professor Silva Opuala Charles. He's the President and Chairman, Governing Council, Garden City Premier Business School. Prof, thank you for joining me on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm honored to have you on the show today. You know,
thank you.
You're a very busy person.
Extremely busy. Yeah.
For those who are listening to us, you could watch us on Facebook. We are live at Today 95.1 FM. You could watch us live and also watch us live on YouTube at Today 951 FM. We are live. You could drop your questions if you can. Prof, straight to business. Now, how would you define digital transformation in the context of Nigeria's economy?
Yeah, whether it's in the context of Nigerian economy or generally, I mean, when you talk about digital transformation, you're talking about transition. You're talking about moving from analog to digital technology. That's what you're talking about. Because you see globally now, the richest people are all tech guys, you know, from Elon Musk to Amazon. Talk about all these guys, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, all those guys are the tech billionaires. If you go to even China, the Hunt, you know, all those guys are tech guys. So tech has taken over the world today. Digital economy is massive. About 20 to 25% of the global economy, GDP, is digital economy. So essentially, you're moving from using analog instruments and methods to digital methods and technology. So that is essentially the transformation. So you look at traditional taxis and are moving to, you know, Bolt and talking to, you know, those are type of Uber. You see that transition. You know, so you see that the stress is not there. You look at even the fintechs. Instead of traditional banks, although most of them are also integrated, you know, electronically, they also have technology by themselves, but you can see that the digital economy actually go for the unbanked. That's what they did, you know, pay the money point. So that is essentially what they face. Is to add value, you know, it's about value creation that ordinarily wasn't covered before. So essentially that is what they face, because you tend to have more value created when you move from analog to the digital space.
Okay, now for you, what do you think are the most crucial policies Nigeria need to implement or to fast-track digital adoption?
See, if you can look at the Nigerian economy now, the economy is shrinking. 2015, the economy was at $500 billion. Today, talking about $285–300 billion. The economy has actually shrunk. Now, looking at other countries that like the same demographic of Nigeria, countries like Brazil, you're talking about countries like even Mexico, Bangladesh and all that. What is their own GDP size? The GDP size of over $2 trillion. Look at a country like Brazil. The population is about 260 million people. Bangladesh also close. Look at a country like Mexico, over 1.4 trillion. So if you look at Nigeria, where Nigeria is not doing well because this is a lag. The service delivery is not there. Because they're supposed to, technology need to play a very big role in terms of these deliveries. And that is not happening. That's why you see the economy is not doing well. Even the tax collection, you see, tax collection is another major issue. Look at, generally, on average, it's about 20% of GDP. That's revenue, tax revenue, supposed to be 20% of GDP. Nigeria is doing, before this time, it was in like 5.5, 2023. Now you see they're talking about 10% of GDP. You know, but if you look at the average in Africa, it's 16% of the GDP. So you look at all these indices, you say that Nigeria is not doing very well. But the area where the problem is coming from majorly is because of the technology. We've not been able to actually be inclusive. We use technology to drive all our things around. That's the major issue that we're having.
Interesting, Prof. Really interesting. Now, how can government and private sector collaborate when you talk about in terms of accelerating technology driven growth?
Yeah, the government need to do integrate, because the government has no business doing business. That's just the truth about it, That's why, in advanced society, capitalism is at the hub of it. What encourages people to invest is profit and growth. And when the private sector do well, the government also grow. So you can see, let's just look at a situation like in America. Most of these big techs, look at a company like Apple, over $4 trillion. Look at a company like Amazon, also eating about $3 trillion. Look at Facebook, over $2 trillion. So if I look at all these companies, big companies, what's the impact of this company on the American economy? Because these are the companies that are domestic companies to the American economy. So the issue is that the government need to come up with policy and ensure that they support this policy. Not necessarily giving them money, because money is another big issue to deal with. Because most of the money that support these startups, because we're talking about startups now, most of the money that help out these startups, where did they come from? They come from private equities, venture funds. And if you look at venture funds alone, if you look at private equity and venture, if you are $10.5 trillion globally, and most of those monies are domiciled in the US and in the Europe, essentially. Nigeria, if you talk about venture funds and then talk about private equity, you're talking about $3 billion. Compare that with 10.5 trillion, they are talking about the other space. So these are very big challenges. But how will you be able to harness it? Government needs to be deliberate about it. Even if you're looking at our banking sector itself, the banking sector is, a bank is 500 billion naira. What's 500 billion naira? Is it up to $1 billion? No. Can they fund oil and gas transactions? Most of them cannot fund it. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, we want to grow our local guys, our local economy, but we need to find a way to bring in foreigners, foreign interests. It's very important. Foreign investment need to come to the sectors. So I was talking to someone about Opay and MoneyPoint. MoneyPoint did 412 trillion last year.
Yeah.
$294 billion.
Yeah.
Opay about $350 million. That's what they did. Now, most of those companies, most of the time they start, they're not even registered in Nigeria, they're registered in the US. Flutter Wave. Yeah. $3 billion.
Paystack and the rest.
Yeah, that's the valuation of Flutter Wave. Yeah. The valuation of Zenith Bank, 2.93 trillion. Less than 4.5 trillion that Flutter Wave is. So the point is that there must be a deliberate way to actually encourage young people, because that's where young people can do a lot of investments. Deliberately, there's the act, the Startup Act has been passed, I think.
Yes.
And then the other key things about data protection that is very important, which was passed in 2023, to ensure security of people playing in that space. Is very important. So the issue is that all across sectors, we're talking about finance, which we are seeing a lot of results in the finance. Fintech is playing a big role. I learned, is it MoneyPoint that just got a license to open branches or so?
Yes.
So you can see that is where it is going. So it begins to bring in the unbanked into the system. Now, you need to do the same thing in power. Power thing is moving. People are going to renewables now. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you are able to open up the economy and allow investments to come in, you can begin to see the results there. How much money? Because there are a lot of startups, especially in Lagos. Port Harcourt is a bit laid back, but Lagos, Abuja, somehow, especially Lagos, 90% of what startups are happening in Lagos. The rest 10%, maybe Abuja takes 7 and maybe Port Harcourt 1 or something. Not really much happening there, but it has to be very deliberate by every government, not just the federal government. Even the state governments need to be deliberate. Where is the tech park in Port Harcourt? Do you have a tech park? You don't have it. Or in the Niger Delta. So these are policies there. Agric is big, one of the biggest. You have 200 million people to feed. If you really want to play very big in that sector, then it means that you need to do a lot of investment in agri-tech. There is a tech space that needs to be created. Tech park. I was even talking to someone about a big game village. And a lot of young people like to play around this area. It's something that they just naturally have the passion for it. So it will just move. So you talk about agri, you talk about power, you talk about services. So currently, if you look at what is the contribution of digital economy to the Nigerian economy, probably about 20% or so, or less. But you can actually do much more than that. How many billionaires have been created? Because that's where we want to see it. If you list them today, the richest man in Nigeria or in Africa is still Dangote, isn't it?
Yeah.
But see, this narrative have to change. We have to follow global pattern. Global pattern in the sense that if the richest man in the world is tech guy, Elon Musk is the richest guy, almost close to $800 billion, which is bigger than times 2 or times 3 of Nigerian economy. Then what happens to Africa? Because you seem to see, so there's a disconnect. If we're not seeing that kind of growth in terms of the billionaires, in terms of the company not happening, that means we have not really joined that league yet in terms of that space. So tech is the key thing, and we need to plug all the major sectors of the tech space. That's one thing that we need to get done.
It's still today, 95.1 FM. It's still today's tech show on your premium dial, and I'm with Professor Charles Opuala, and we are discussing shaping policies to fast-track Nigeria's digital transformation. Like I said earlier, you could watch us live on YouTube at Today 951 FM, or on Facebook at Today 95.1 FM, or you could send us text messages or WhatsApp messages via 0701 9339 962. So, Prof, now, what is the role of education and skill development in ensuring Nigeria benefits from digital technology?
It's very important, because you see, if you develop skills, data analytics, for instance, things like that, building website, you become a player in that. There is what we call open innovation, where people call for help. People call for inputs. And when they are having a problem, they throw it there. What they call crowdsourcing. I must have heard about crowdsourcing.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
So you throw your problem to the society, the community solve. Just like what we are doing with Nigerian Big Brother.
Yes.
Something locked at. But in this case, that one too is an open source. It's a crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
So similar things happen with open innovation. There are companies that's what they do. So you now begin to integrate a lot. How many people watch the Big Brother? Young people. They don't sleep in the night watching Big Brother.
Big Brother at night, yeah.
So similar things, problems are all over the place, and people want to play roles in making contributions. And when you are making, it's a value chain. As you make your contribution, you take part of the thing that you are making from that. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and he was telling me about one of his guys that have a YouTube channel. What he does is that he broadcasts Premier Leagues, European English Premier Leagues and other leagues.
Yeah. And
he has a lot of guys that work for him. And he makes minimum of $50,000 every month after traveling, expense, and all that. So there are a lot of things that you can benefit when you play in that space. But before you get to that point of earning, you need to build up your skills level. You get? So you probably have to do data analytics, few courses.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity. You need to increase the depth of knowledge in that space so that you have the benefit from that, because there are key things they need to know, fundamentals, that will aid you to be able to perform. So that is where it is. So a lot of people who are not benefiting from that space is because they're not having those skills. What is happening in Lagos is very fundamental. A lot of the young people, they don't know whether there is government there. People are here, they are working in companies in the US. They are working in companies, so people are just busy in the moment with their systems. And they are making a lot of money. Call centers are using them. So those skills are things that you need to develop those skills. There are a couple of things. If you Google it, people that make that data analytics, some people earn up to $200,000 per month through those skills that they have. So the issue is, how do you build a kind of a centralized tech park where everything is available? People can play different roles there. It will take a lot of youths off the market looking for jobs. And by the time you deepen their knowledge base and all that, it will really change the society. Because how many people are unemployment, real unemployment, youth unemployment, talking about people are age of 15 to about 24 or so, or to 35 or so. Probably you're talking about close to 40% of that population that is unemployed. Yeah, although Nigerian country is trying to define somebody that earns money every week, it's no small money you're employed. But in terms of the consistency, in terms of revenue that you earn, I mean, it doesn't really exist. A lot of people don't really have a consistent revenue that you can say they earn all the time. And they're able to spend at least $2 per day Because that's the definition. Because I mean, you should be able to, otherwise you are poor. You are out of that bracket. So
now, in your own opinion, Prof, what are the main barriers that are slowing down digital adoption in Nigeria today?
Yeah, I think the government is not doing enough. I mean, you can have to place on the dust of the government. Government has to do quite a lot more in terms of investment. I just mentioned to you now that apart from the Lagos State government that is doing quite a lot, opening the space, providing all the resources to support the private sector in that direction. Yeah. And that's why if you go to Lagos, there are some fintech that you will hear that you don't know, you have never heard of them before. I've gone to hotels and say, they show me fintechs that you're going to use to pay for your hotel room, and then you have never heard them before.
Yeah, they are new.
They have been there.
They've been there, but
and we don't know about them. For the first time,
you're
just hearing about them.
Yeah.
So that's to tell you that they have gone far. They provide an enabling environment. It's an environment is very important. The enabling environment will support this activity, and people will just want to invest there because they are protected. So there's a lot of they remove the government has, although the government through taxes make its money, but there's a way the private sector thrive in Lagos. The real estate guys, everybody's making money without necessarily being dragged into that space of the everyday government manipulation and all that. It doesn't happen. So you can see people are free and make money. So the government need to unbundle this government thing out and then allow people to begin to operate, I mean, that is one thing that need to happen. Like River State is one very big economy before. When the oil companies were all there. But if Shell is bringing $20 billion back to Nigeria, where are they bringing it to? Bonga. Okay? All right. So, I learned even in Bayelsa, I was talking to someone. Now, there's a Nembe Creek. They're not loading oil directly from Nembe Creek. Ships are coming to Nembe Creek. We are close to Nembe to load crude oil. So if that is already, I learned they're even regretting that they sell that oil, OML to ITU. You get what I'm trying to say? So, it's possible they have left because of crisis, all these community issues here and there, and because of the breaking of oil pipelines and all that. But you can see that they begin to see that they are seeing another opportunity. That's why they are reinvesting. You know what I'm saying? So there's there's a reshoring. There's offshore. People are leaving, and there's reshoring of these companies coming back to base again. So how are we prepared to be able to engage them, to ensure that we get the benefit of this reshoring activity that's happening now? I think that's quite important. But I think the government has to do more. But on the part of our people also, you need to be able to deepen your skills level. Reskilling is very important. You know what I'm saying? Reskilling is very important. Somebody will talk about digital citizens, natives, and immigrants. A lot of people who are supposed to be in tandem with what is happening digitally are out of the space. They are like immigrants. They have not been able to imbibe the basic skills that will make them to be citizens in that space. So they need to learn new skills to be able to bring them on board this new digital space that is emerging. Otherwise, AI is coming, all these things are coming. If you don't put yourself on board, very soon you are totally out of market. So there's a role for the government to play. There's a role for the private individuals, citizens to play, to reposition themselves for the emerging breakthroughs that are coming through to this market.
Now, let's talk a bit about policy. You've touched a lot on it today. Now, how do you think policy can address infrastructure gaps like internet connectivity, reliable power supply, which is currently limiting digital transformation?
Yeah, the power thing, I think the government has tried because they have unbundled already. They've allowed state government to be able to the Demo government has done that. That has happened. And if you go to many places in Lagos, people, even estates are running on the private power, IPP, they have their own system that run they don't depend on generators anymore. They run them based on that. So it's already happening. We have not been able to take advantage of that. Infrastructures are very important. It's critical because if you don't have the infrastructure and then backbones and all that are happening, there need to be more investment. Because there are a lot of places today, even the telecom services are not getting deep enough. In fact, sometimes you see that when you're using 5, it's even not as effective.
Not up to 5.
Yeah, not up to 5. Because
Yes,
it's not very
a lot of people are complaining about that now.
It's the 3 seems to be more effective.
Yeah.
So there's need to be a lot of investment. Even the power situation, if you look at it, what has happened in Nigeria is that it comes back to the same thing. They sold the power companies to people who don't have deep pockets. Because for you to play in power, for you to play in oil and gas, you must have fundamentally very deep pockets. If you don't have deep pocket, you can't play there. And you can't have your own money to play in those space. You have to bring in money from outside. So if you are saying you're selling companies to local farm to people, and our farm is always breaking down because the money that they put in isn't enough. The reconsolidation that needs to happen in the power sector is what? You need to allow foreign companies that are very strong to be able to make these investments in the country so that they can take a very big stake. Even if you say, okay, take 60%, China did it very successfully. When China opened up in 1998, what did they do? They allowed American companies and the West to come in, take 60% of most of the setup they were doing, and then the locals have 40%. But later on, they have to leapfrog technology, learn technology, and then take position, set up new companies to counter these new old companies that were there. You understand? That's what they did. So when people learn this new technology from those who are the incumbents, now insurgent rises. Insurgent will arise. New companies, insurgent will arise to be able to from the locals. What has happened in oil and gas? Like today, you have Seplat, you have Ohando, you have which other one again that have emerged. Even Renaissance. You can see that Haradel. You can see that these are companies that are coming up, taking over most of the things that have been done by foreigners before. That's what I'm talking about, that situation. But do they even have the real deep pocket? But they have to start from somewhere, which they have started well in oil and gas. And the power, we still have that problem, infrastructure side. We still have the power. Now, if you look at the telecoms, to the level of investment, yes, they are enjoying the infrastructure that is government is doing, but the government can even unbundle that infrastructure side to another set of companies that can do the infrastructure. Not the government instead putting its own money to put it, unbundle it, allow other investors to come and invest it there and make money, so that the government will only be involved in what? Taxation. So these are areas that they need to look at.
Prof, I really wish I had one whole hour with you because there's no the time we have is fast running out. But quickly now, how do you think Nigeria can ensure cyber security and data protection while promoting digital growth?
Yeah, that has also to be deliberate. Yeah, I mentioned the Data Protection Act that 2023 is still there.
Yeah,
but I think policy must be alive, must be sustainable. One thing is that effectiveness of policy depends on M&E, monitoring and evaluation. So the level of evaluation, what is happening. But I think the EFCC and other people on cyber issues are doing their best. But I think there need to be more eyes on that to be able to make that happen. But so far so good. It seems like they're making progress. The banks too, there are a lot of frauds happen. But I think they're all a bit coming down in terms of that. So security, data security, cyber security, and all that are quite important, because the more we get sophisticated in digital economy, the more the cyber criminals will also get sophisticated, because sophistication goes sophistication. So those guys at the other end that is policing the cyber space must also be strong enough to be able to monitor and counter them. So there must always be a counter narrative.
Interesting. Now, for you, Prof, what is your vision for Nigeria in the next? Because of time, I'm supposed to ask you one other question before this, but I think I just have to lump both of them together, Prof. Now, my first question is, how can SMEs leverage government policy to adopt new technologies effectively? And then my final question to you, what is your vision for Nigeria in the next 5 to 10 years if digital transformation policies are effectively implemented?
Yeah, okay, let me start from the last question. I think the issue is very clear. If we can move like China. We can move. In fact, the Tinubu government is talking about 1 trillion economy. 1 trillion, if we really embrace it, 1 trillion economy is too small for Nigeria. Probably we should double that in 5 years. Yes. If we are able to get it right, liberalize that sector very well, digital economy very well, and allow foreign capital to come in, you can actually move it over to 2 trillion. It's possible to achieve that. The fundamentals must be that we open up this economy, allow, some kind of people need to be assured of, that they are free to operate in this space and they can take their monies back. not government interfering, but democrats has also come to stay by the grace of God. So I think this is very well possible. Now you asked asked me a question, another question.
I asked you about the how SMEs can leverage government policies to adopt new technologies effectively.
There's what we call horizon of growth. Horizon of growth. Now, what is there is that there is current technology that people are using. So every industry have, if you look at it, what is the technology that is available? So you are maybe using a technology. First of all, you have to start from there. Now, there's also emerging technology, which is not common. So SMEs, if you really want to play and to be ahead of competition, now you must be able to see the current technology, move from current technology to the emerging technology, and to another level of technology that's not seen, horizon of growth. So growth is going to be fueled by what? Technology. So technology from current to emerging to new technology that is even unseen is strategic planning. So that is basically what it is. So if you will limit yourself to current technology, and some guys have moved to the emerging technology, and some guys have even moved beyond that, like using AI, how do you cope? So the SMEs themselves must also let them not see themselves as local champions. Because if you see yourself as a local champion, you're confined to that thinking, then you even see that players will come from outside and disrupt you. But if you don't want to be disrupted, then you must be thinking ahead of others, outside the box. So there must be a thinking group. One of my very respected friends went to Mercedes in Berlin, and they said there's a room where they keep young boys just to be thinking of designs. That's what it thinks. Now that is very important, design, because if you look at Smile Curve, where do people make money? Where people make money is in the design, R&D and design. That's where the money comes from. So if you look at the phone, a typical phone of Apple, even the container, the stuff alone is an attraction. So the design thinking is very important. important. R&D, it takes from R&D. How much is government going to invest? R&D. Nigerian government, US government spend about 3.5% of their GDP on R&D. We spend 0.035 on GDP on R&D. We are not just there. We need to refocus ourselves.
Professor, I hope we'll have another edition where we'll be able to elaborate more on this. Professor Silva Opuala Charles, the President and Chairman, Governing Council, Garden City Premier Business School. Thank you for joining me on this edition.
Thank you very much, and thank you, listeners. God bless you.
So that's the show for this week.